Hello, dear friends. I am eating the most delicious red bean paste mochi. Have you ever had this before? I just have to tell you, might be my stranded on a desert food. Chewy, slightly savory because it's the red beans and the rice. There's rice flour on the outside, so you get this like powdery, mm, like the perfect chewiness. Sweet, but not overwhelming. Mm. And how cute is this cup? It looks like a pineapple. And the main thing I drink, I don't like water, is sparkling water with cranberry juice. I recently got four of these cups because I have been using a set of jars that I found on the side of the road 20 years ago as cups, and I've always dreamed of having like actual cups that were not jars. And it's so funny the things that I don't like actually buy. Like I'll buy a book, I'll buy therapy session. I'll buy a spiritual course any day of the week. I'll not any day of the week, but I'll spend money on that. And then things like, oh, I'd like a set of glasses that I think these were like $2 each. All right. So here we are. I am sharing today, and I'm gonna share this on my channel that is on this channel. Obviously, you know where you are. That is about my gender journey. Um, and it's got a little bit of gender stuff, but also tied in with some perimenopause stuff. I'm 45 and I have been taking testosterone for, I should find out, like maybe 2 years, over 2 years, excuse me. And I use the gel pump, and I have been taking like 2 or 3 pumps. It's like a 10 milligrams, so 2 or 3 pumps a day. And it's like 10 milligrams per pump or something like that. So I think that's what the 10 milligrams stands for. So I don't know all the like exactness of that, but I have been taking that. I did try the shots at one point, and I was just, it was too stressful for me, and I didn't realize that there was an option to have a nurse like go into the office and have a nurse do it. But even with that, I also didn't like, there was like a lot of like at the beginning, the first day I took the shot, I felt like buzzing, like so much energy in my system. And then over the course of the 2 weeks before the next shot, I felt like kind of like droopy. And by the end of the 2 weeks, I felt ravenously desperate for it. And so I didn't like that like up and down. So for me, the gel is really great because I take it every day and I don't feel any of that up and down. Um, I had a doctor's appointment to check in on all of my hormone stuff because I have been having a lot of vulva irritation, dryness, and so that the vulva is like the skin right on the like entrance to the vagina. Um, and it was like when I take a walk, it felt like it was rubbing, like it was like getting chapped from rubbing, and it was sometimes itchy or burny, just like general discomfort and awareness of the discomfort all of the time. And then I increasingly, and I was like up many, many times a night to go to the bathroom, and then found that I was going to the bathroom so often during the day too. And I was also increasingly aware that my like butthole, I know it's awkward stuff I'm going to talk about today, was also like itchy and irritated, and I didn't know what was going on with that. And so I was talking with a friend, and like this, has been it went on for a long time. And then I was talking to a friend, and she was like, "Oh, you should see a urogynecologist," which I had never heard of before. And the urogynecologist like specializes in like like uh how the urethra, I guess, is what the uro is for, or like the where the bladder, where the pee goes out of. Um and the all the like gynecological stuff. So like all the uterus and ovaries and the vaginal canal and everything that's connected in there. I have never heard of that. I had been to the gynecologist, well, to the midwife, because I actually didn't go to an OBGYN. So this may be why I never heard about this earlier. But 13 years ago, after my kid was born, I had what was called like a semicircular tear, like arch tear or something like that. He came out with his arm, like his hand on his little ear and his elbow out. And as he came through the vaginal canal, his elbow tore, like shredded all the vaginal canal skin. And so after his delivery, they spent 2.5 hours trying to stitch it back together. But as the nurse like so graphically told me, it looked like hamburger meat, like it had just been shredded. And they were like, "What do we sew what to?" And they had a really hard time doing it. And then 10 days later, I hemorrhaged, and was back in the ER. And they like tried to take some of the stitches out or figure out what was going on. And then, like, another week later, I hemorrhaged again. And I had ongoing significant pain, like 6 months, a year, and into present day around like this repair and how they did it. And right after the birth, all the way till like a year after the birth, I kept going back to the midwife and being like, "I'm having pain." And she just kept saying, like, "That's normal, take Advil." And I was like, I cannot have any kind of sex. Like, I was also breastfeeding. And so they were like, "Oh, it's just the hormones. Just like get yourself drunk and use a lot of lube." And I was like, I actually am sober, but and also I don't want to have to drug myself in order to do this. And it like of course created, not of course, but in my situation it created, I would like there to be a world where it's not an of course, where it's shocking if this happens, but it created difficulty in my relationship. I was married at the time. And yeah, it was very impactful in my life. So it disrupted my relationship with my sexuality, my relationship with my partner, my relationship with just like having a functioning body. I was like experiencing pain and sensitivity um, ever since then. So 13 years. My kid is 13 years old. So 14 actually, because that first year. So, um, anyways, I did go see this urogynecologist, and she was like, "Oh yeah, you have what's called a rectocele." And I had heard of like prolapsed uterus, you may have heard of, or like prolapse stuff, and like doing Kegels and doing, certain exercises for the pelvic floor. You hear people talk about that. Um, and I had actually even gone to a pelvic floor therapist a few years after my kid was born. And she tried to do like, I went for weeks and weeks and weeks. And she tried to do like exercises. And basically, my pelvic floor was like pulled up really high. And also, part of what happened during the delivery of my kiddo was that they did an intravaginal exam. So they like stuck a hand in there to measure like how many centimeters you are or whatever. And I had told them I did not want that. And then they had pushed really hard, like I had to have it. And apparently, I had a very typical response to someone who has experienced sexual abuse. And I was not like consciously aware of a history of sexual abuse at that time. But this was part of what like got me on the journey to become more consciously aware of that. Um, and so the pelvic floor therapist had said, like, I can't get your pelvic floor to relax no matter what I do. And so my therapy is not going to work. And I, like, best I can advise you is just to do like some psychological, like, trauma therapy and see if that helps. So that's part of my history too. So, this urogynecologist was like, yep, you actually have a rectocele, which is not a prolapse, and it's where there's like the pipe that's the vaginal canal, and then there's the pipe that's the rectum, and the poop goes down here, right? So what happened is the canal got the wall of the vaginal canal got weak, and like a bulge of the a bit of the rectum canal got like pushed into the vaginal canal. So now there's like this little pocket. Here's the vaginal canal and here's the rectum. And so poop can get like caught in here, and then it can make it hard to actually like poop. You can get constipated or stuff can get stuck in there. And it also means there's like part of the rectum is in the vaginal canal, which can make the vaginal canal like uncomfortable. And I was never able to use tampons after my kiddo was born, and that's because probably now I know like there was something blocking in the part of my rectum was blocking my vaginal canal. So of course nothing could go in there, or it was uncomfortable to get something in there. So all of this to say, I went to the urogynecologist once, and she recommended a surgery, which I was like, okay. She also recommended a sling for under my bladder because there was a bit of a bladder prolapse as well, and like it may have to do with the like stress incontinence. So like every time I laugh or like sneeze or cough or jump on a trampoline or try to run or something, I pee a little bit. And so that's supposed to help with that. So I was gonna get the surgery and then I got scared because I just felt like I don't want to be unconscious while someone's messing around in there because that's kind of where my sexual abuse history is like feels like that. And so I decided not to do it. I was like, I'm just gonna handle it. And then fast forward to I was having more and more and more discomfort with both like vulva dryness and irritation, and just like my butthole was having more problems. It's awkward to say, no. But so I had talked to my doctor about it, and she had been like, well, we could put some topical estrogen on your vulva to help with the dryness. And I was like, I don't love that idea, but let's try it. So I got it, and then it had like one of those little like inserter type things. Like you like put it in the thing and then you what's that called? A syringe. And you like put it up in your vagina and then syringe it so that it gets up in there. And I was like, I can't put anything in there. That just felt too awful. And I was like, never mind, I don't want to do it. So I didn't do that for a while. And then again, things got worse and worse and worse. And finally I was like, maybe my rectocele is getting really worse and like there's like poop problems. That's why maybe my butthole is so irritated. So I was like, let me go back and just say, like, is it worse? Like, do you think the surgery would help with this? What's going on? Because I was also curious, like, is it hemorrhoids or something? So I went back to the urogynecologist and she was like, yeah, we should do the surgery. Like, okay, let's do it. And I'm just gonna like work with my therapist in advance of the surgery to like really work with all the parts who are scared about it. So then I went back home and was like, let me make another appointment with my doctor and talk through all this and ask all of my questions. And in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and use the topical estrogen because the urogynecologist was like, that's gonna really help. Like all your vaginal tissues are like so atrophied from like half slash perimenopause, decrease in estrogen, and then also like you're taking testosterone. So the system is looking for a balance in estrogen and testosterone. And as perimenopause decreases it and I add testosterone, like it just increases the imbalance. So it's not that the testosterone is making the estrogen decrease, it's the perimenopause that's making the estrogen decrease. But the imbalance is wider. So like it would just help my tissues in preparation for the surgery, etc. So I went back to my doctor and first of all, she explained that about the estrogen and testosterone, which was really helpful because I didn't know, like, am I lowering my estrogen by taking testosterone? But not necessarily. But I am going to decrease the um, moisture in the vaginal canal and vulva tissues by taking the testosterone. That is like a common side effect. And so adding the estrogen there is really positive. It won't create like estrogen in the rest of the body. So it's not like taking an estrogen patch and is less likely to impact like the gendered sex characteristics or secondary sex characteristics that you're getting with the testosterone. It's not going to decrease those at all. I wasn't worried about that, but just for anybody who is. Um, and then I also asked my doctor about like, does the testosterone build up over time? Is there like over time I'm gonna need to take it less? Do I just stay on it? And she said, really, where they're at right now medically, which is 2025, is they're just letting people like self-determine their testosterone levels, and then they test them like once a year at their regular physical, and if their testosterone levels are too high, or if there's other consequences, like health consequences, like cholesterol being too high or something, or like blood pressure being concerned, then they may say they want to decrease testosterone, but otherwise it's just really self-determined what feels good for you. So that was nice to know. She also acknowledged, I asked her about, I've gained what feels like a pretty significant amount of weight and I'm fine with it, but I was just curious if it had to do with the testosterone. And she said that is also a testosterone perimenopause combo that I'm 45. I also have perimenopause symptoms, which is a big part of why I started the testosterone in the first place. So she said with testosterone, you are going to gain muscle, which is heavier than fat. So first of all, you're going to have weight gain and just like size gain because of more muscle mass. And she said, actually, that muscle is a positive thing for me in terms of like osteoporosis and bone density, which is great. Um, and I have noticed that like I'm just like bulkier in my arms and shoulders, which makes sense. Um, and then also she said with menopause, you're going to expect to gain like 5 to 15 pounds, even if you're not changing diet and exercise. And so that also was helpful to know. And then for me in particular, I have always had an extremely low appetite, and I do have an eating disorder history of a lot of restrictive eating. And so, one of the noticeable changes with taking testosterone for me is that I have an appetite. I enjoy eating more, and I actually like crave food and crave sweets and am eager to eat. Whereas before, I was always like, it's such a chore. I have to force myself to eat. So that has been a positive side effect for me because it's a lot more fun to enjoy eating than to feel like it's a drudgery that I have to do. Okay, the other thing that I checked in about is the rectocele, and she did say, she was like, yeah, that doctor is excellent. Everybody has good results. Like, she is so hesitant to recommend surgery. She only does it if you have a severe rectocele, so you must have a severe one and you should do it. And I was like, okay, that's good to know too, because my other question mark was like, does she just give surgery to anyone because she's a surgeon? It keeps her in business. And my doctor was like, no, she like actually doesn't recommend it for very many people, even when people want it. So I was like, oh, okay. So that was good and helpful. And she reiterated, like, please do the inserted estrogen cream up until the surgery because that's going to help the skin tone so that the surgeon has an easier time working with the skin. And she said after that point, if I don't want to use the inserted estrogen, if I don't want to insert the estrogen cream, that's no problem. She's not as concerned with my vaginal walls after the surgery if I'm not having penetrative sex which I'm not. So I can decide later down the road if I want to continue the inserted aspect. She said long term, what she would recommend is just putting some of the estrogen cream on my fingers, just putting it around the like dry areas of my vulva, and then specifically putting it on the urethra, which no one had ever mentioned that to me before. The urethra skin, if it's really tender and fragile, then you're going to feel like you have to pee more. So I was like, oh my God, that's great to know that I can put it directly on the urethra, which I guess is like right under your clitoris. It's where your pee comes out, is how she describes it. I still feel a little vague on all of these things, but that will actually decrease like nighttime peeing, daytime peeing, which I'm like, amazing. And I'm also going to get a sling on, like I mentioned, so that'll help with that. Okay. So then the other thing I asked both the urogynecologist and my doctor about was the potential for hemorrhoids. And the urogynecologist was like, I don't check for that. I don't diagnose that. So you can go to somebody to do that. The doctor was like, I can look, but I won't necessarily know because sometimes they can be internal. And she's like, really? They would cause you significant pain or bleeding. And if you're not having those, then you probably don't have hemorrhoids. Or if you did have hemorrhoids, they're like dried up hemorrhoids. And now they're more like hemorrhoid tags, which are like little skin tags. And I had told her I'm using like a homeopathic hemorrhoid cream and a like a coconut oil based cream that's meant as like a vulva cream, but it just has felt good. And then I'm also using like a um, witch hazel gel to put on my toilet paper for when I wipe. They sell like witch hazel wipes, flushable wipes, but this is like a little squirty gel. It just feels easier because it you can use it with your toilet paper, and that has been helpful. And then I'm already vegan and eat like tons of vegetables and stuff. And so she was like, "Yeah, just avoid constipation. Use those creams. Like that's what she would recommend for the hemorrhoids, whether she sees them or not." She said she would be happy to check for them, but that she didn't need to because the recommendation would be the same. So I'll continue with that. And then I also have a colonoscopy scheduled, my first colonoscopy, because I'm 45. And she said during the colonoscopy, they will tell me, like, you have hemorrhoids if I do. And then also they'll tell me, the urogynecologist said that they'll tell me, like, do you have a rectocele? And I'm going to be like, yeah, I know. Okay. Uh, okay, let me see what else I may have missed. Okay, the other thing that I was asking her about are that I get really hot at night and it wakes me up. I'm not having night sweats, which I'm very grateful for, but that is a perimenopause symptom or menopause symptom. And and she said what they would typically recommend for that is an estrogen patch or SSRIs, which are antidepressants. And I am very hesitant to do either of those because I have a history of a lot of suicidal ideation, specifically when I was taking birth control and antidepressants. And so I have always avoided those. And this was cool. I didn't know that they're doing this now, but she put like a warning on my medical record that says, like, don't give this person SSRIs. That was great. So she said that would be their typical course of action for vasomotor symptoms, which are the like hot flashes or sweats. She said there are some new to market menopause meds that I can ask your gynecologist about that are for people who can't do estrogen or SSRIs. So I will ask about that when I next go to the urogynecologist. Um, and then let's see what else. I feel like there was one more thing. Oh yeah, so the last thing was I was asking like, am I in menopause since I haven't bled for a couple of years? And she said no. So this was really helpful because I have asked, I feel like a number of people, and they've not been able to give me this answer. So I'm experiencing what's called amenorrhea, and that means I'm not bleeding. But because I still have my uterus and my ovaries, I am likely still having ovulation, and the testosterone has decreased the like it has made it so that my uterus is not making that thick uterine lining each month that would be shed, and that would be the period. And so, even though I'm not making the uterine lining and not shedding that, I still am likely ovulating. And if you're ovulating, then you're still having the hormone cycle that you would of like, luteal phase and PMS and all that good stuff. And so, whereas when I had talked to some trans people before in a support group, they had been like, you're going to have a phantom cycle. It's going to seem like you have PMS and a period like symptoms, but you won't have an actual period. So I was like, okay, that's interesting and like validating, I guess, but how would you ever know? And I feel like this is not phantom. I'm having an actual cycle. I'm just not having any uterine lining to shed. And so I did a lot of ovulation predictor kits when I was trying to get pregnant. And so I feel like if I wanted to, I could take some ovulation predictor kits and then like know what my cycle is, which I think would actually be interesting because I liked having a cycle before. I liked understanding that about myself. It made me feel like connected to nature and stuff. And it was just nice to know like, oh, I might be feeling funky or I might be feeling this or that. According to my cycle. So I think I might get some ovulation predictor kits and check into that. And the other piece around that that's not important for me because I don't have penetrative sex with people with penises, but you can get pregnant even if you're on testosterone and don't have any period because you may still be ovulating. So even if it's not going to be like a super supported pregnancy because there's not a bunch of uterine lining, you could still get pregnant. So people should know that if they are on testosterone and they're not having any bleeding, um, and they're having penetrative sex with a person with a penis, like, and you don't want to get pregnant, then do what you need to do, whether that be condoms or birth control or whatever, to support yourself with that. Okay, so otherwise, I guess I can also just do a quick update on all the other things that I usually share on this channel. I think my voice seems to be like pretty steady. I still find that I'll have a sore throat if I talk in like a group setting. If I try to shout or sing, it's still difficult for me. Like it causes some pain and strain feeling. So I have on my sort of like list of some days to get a trans supportive a vocal coach who can help me figure out like why that's happening. I have a bunch of facial hair now, so as you can see, there's like a little bit of like 5 o'clock shadow. Sort of no matter how recently I have shaved, I tend to shave like every couple of days. If I didn't want like any scratchiness on my face, I would need to shave probably like twice a day. I haven't tried growing it out. I don't know what it would look like, but it's itchy to me, which is the primary reason. I also have still like some awkward feelings about it. Um, and let's see what else. I feel like my face has aged a lot. So like those stuff. Is I feel like my whole face has just aged. I'm generally bigger, like I said. I have a lot more hair on my chest and stomach. Let's see. You can see, let's see if we can bring this down a little bit. So I have like, hair goes to here really is like pretty solid hair, and then actually it continues out and across my scar lines. My scar lines are like really low key. I don't have tenderness. Really, I sometimes will feel like I need to like stretch a lot. I can feel sometimes some tightness under my armpits because my scar line goes all the way up to here, and it is like still a little tight in here. I have full sensation everywhere. I still will often get the feeling like I want to rub this middle part. There's like a little patch of like, I don't know if you can tell, like kind of like fat or something right there that sometimes feels a little like it would like some rubbing. And that is like slightly tender if I rub on it, but I certainly don't have any pain. It feels very like good to rub it. But I'm not using any creams or oils or anything like that. And my tattoos for my nipples have faded quite a lot, so I might go back in and ask the surgeon um if she can touch those up. I have some like faint hairs coming up around here, which probably I'm sort of anticipating that'll continue up and spread across here. I'm also getting some random hairs on like around here and around my shoulders. And I noticed last time I was at the barber that he like um buzzed hair off of my ears and like down around here. So I think there's probably some more hairs growing there that are like very light that I don't really notice. I don't have like a magnifying mirror in my life, so I don't tend to see a lot of things. I have like so much hair on my legs and my arms now, and all the way in my whole butt, which I didn't really think about that my butt didn't have hair on it before, but now it really does, and you can tell the difference. And my wrists now have hair like almost completely on the back side of them, which they didn't have before, and I'm starting to get more hair on my like knuckles. So hairiness certainly has been increasing steadily. It feels like that's just maybe going to continue for along the whole course of the thing. Um, what else? I love it still. I'm like super, super happy with all my decisions. I don't regret any of it. Oh, hairline I had talked about before. I now wear a hat every single day because I have found that for my light sensitivity, it's like my whole world is better when I wear a hat all of the time. So I just do now all of the time. This widow's peak is kind of like lessening. I used to have a very deep widow's peak, and that seems to be receding a little bit. I don't know if that's receding or this is changing. So hairline might be a little different. I feel like this is thinned out compared to how it previously was when I would buzz my hair, but I don't totally know how to measure that. So it could be that I'm thinning here, which I've come to feel great about, fine about. I mean, I wear a hat every single day, anyways. Hold on one second. Um, but even if I didn't, I feel like I'm just so coming into like, oh my God, if it makes me feel good, like I am on board with it because my psychological health has never been so incredible. I think I'm the happiest person I know. I don't say that lightly, because I'm super grateful. I am like thrilled in my life right now, oddly, because the circumstances haven't really changed. Life is particularly hard on the planet right now, and I am like super happy actually all of the time. Even when I'm sad, I'm like really grateful and feel good about things and feel excited and interested and motivated and thankful and like hopeful and fascinated and curious and like I mean my mental health is just something that I like didn't even know existed. I'm so thrilled and grateful. So, and like relationships are better as a result. I've never had so many like fun social opportunities. Um, it's it's wild and like so much satisfaction being home alone and like endless exciting projects that I'm doing. So I just my life is like way beyond my wildest dreams. So I feel absolutely thrilled with everything that I have done. Um, anyways, just wanted to give all of that as an update. And if anyone has any questions or thoughts, as always, just leave it in the comments. So much love to you. Take gentle care.